Hello friends and welcome to the another lecture on construction economics and finance. I hope many of the students have joined now. Okay, and today we will see the topic affordable housing scheme by Government of India. Okay, we are in the lecture series of construction economics and finance, and our today's topic is the affordable housing scheme by Government of India. Basically, in the beginning, I would like to tell you that the low cost housing is different, that construction technology is different, and this affordable housing scheme is different. Both do not confuse and do not mix it. Okay. So this affordable housing scheme for all is also a scheme. Earlier it was Rajiv Awas Yojana. Okay, now it has been renamed to PM. Okay, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. So before starting, I would like to introduce myself. I am Professor Amay Kedikar, working in the Department of Civil Engineering at Tulsi Ramji Gaikwad Patil College of Engineering and Technology. So in the subject, right from the beginning, we have seen how this economy is benefited by the construction industry, how the construction industry is contributing in the development of nation growth, then turnkey projects, then finance, sources of finance, all this series we have seen. So today, a very new topic, very interesting topic, that is the affordable housing scheme of Government of India that we will see. Okay, so I request everybody to watch till the end and get your concept clear. Okay. So basically, to understand the PM Awas Yojana, it's all about the housing scheme for the people, those who are needy. There are criteria to define economic class that we will see later on. But this PM Awas Yojana, it is now after 2015, it is renamed as PM Awas Yojana. Earlier, it was Rajiv Awas Yojana. So this scheme, okay, housing for all, this scheme is there since long, and what are the benefits, what are the exact benefits for the consumer, for the buyer, for the builder, criteria, that we'll see in detail. Okay, so stay tuned. Okay, so this is the understanding of Awas, PM Awas, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, housing for all scheme. So again I repeat, earlier it was Rajiv Awas Yojana, and in 2015 it is renamed for PM Awas Yojana. All right. So, to introduce, basically, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana was launched in 2015 with an aim to provide affordable housing to urban and poor. Okay, basically, as I have told you, that this scheme, as I have told you, that the scheme Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana was launched in 2015, as it was also existing earlier with the name of Rajiv Awas Yojana. Okay, with an aim to provide affordable housing to and poor, urban poor. Okay. So by the time the nation completes 75 years of its independence, every family will have a house with water connection, toilet facilities, and 24 by 7 electricity supply. Okay. Also known as, this scheme is also known as Housing for All scheme. The scheme is also known as Housing for All scheme. Okay. So this scheme is also known as Housing for All scheme. It is proposed to build 2 crores houses for urban poor in urban areas by the year 2022. It is proposed in the entire scheme, in the scheme. Okay. Financial assistance for 2 trillion from the central government, which is assisted. Okay. As far as US currency, it is US 13 billion. Okay. So, and technology submission, design and planning. Okay, innovative technologies and materials, then design and planning, we have green building using natural resources, and earthquake and other disaster resistant technologies and design. Okay, so in the finance assistant, almost 2 trillion from central government, which is been assisted. Then in the technology submission, it is in the design and planning segment, the innovative technologies and materials are to be implemented, are to be used. Then green practices and natural resources are to be used maximum. And earthquake and other resistant design technologies and design which is to be used, implemented. Okay, so basically in the implementation plan actually, although all about 4,041 secondary towns as per the census 2011 with focus on 500 class 1 cities would be covered in three phases as follows. So as per the census 2011, by focusing in 500 class 1 cities, okay, it would be covered in the following three phases. So in the phase 1, which will be start, which already have started from April 2015 to March 2017, and which will cover almost 100 cities. Okay, which will cover almost 100 cities. Okay, this is all about phase number 1. And in phase 2, which will be starting from, which already started, as we are discussing the plan. So it has started from April 2017 to March 2019. Okay, and which will cover additional 200 cities. Additional 200 cities. Okay, and in the phase 3, which will end by the year 2022, which will start from April 2019 to March 22. But I think this phase is badly suffered due to this corona pandemic. Okay, in India, because many of the activities are stopped now. I hope this will extend by till 2025. Okay, and whatever targeted we have kept of 500 cities. So in the first phase we have covered the 100 cities. In the second phase we have covered the additional 200, and remaining 200 cities will be covered in the phase 3 as per the implementation plan. But looking into the current scenario, looking into the corona pandemic, it is not difficult, to cover this. It will extend. Okay, there are few possibilities. There are few chances, so it may get extended. Okay, so again you can see that the affordable housing is a concept, is very generic and could have different meaning for different people based on differences in the economic level. Okay, so absolutely right, and it is rightly said that the definition of economy will vary from person to person. For a few people, 5 lakh rupees is the economy. For a few people, 3 lakh rupees will be economical, and few people will also difficult to find 1 lakh rupees. So as far as the economic level is, categorized, so we have three sections here: economically weaker section, then economically lower income section, and then middle income section. So it is classified in the three category: economically weaker section, okay, which income level below 3 lakhs, okay, and which will get the house around up to 350 square feet. The construction build up is up to construction area, okay, build up area up to 350 square feet, and affordability of the EMI which will be make them available around 20 to 30%, will be 20 to 30%. Okay, in the lower income group, okay, in the lower income group, the income level is decided up to the 3 to 6 lakhs. The income level decided up to 3 to 6 lakhs. Okay, and size of the house which will they get is up to from 350 square feet to 650 square feet built up area, and the affordability of EMI to monthly income, that is 30 to 40%. 30 to 40%. Okay, and in the middle income group, the income level is decided up to 6 to 10 lakhs, and the size of the unit is about 650 square feet to 1200 square feet, and affordability to monthly income, that is 30 to 40% in terms of EMI. So economically weaker section have different clauses. Then lower income group and middle income group, based on their income, the EMI criteria has been decided, and based on their the income and EMI, the square feet area has been allotted. So this is about the affordable housing scheme, and this concept is varying from person to person, even dependent on the family and income. So okay, so it has a different level. Okay, now in the implementation verticals, okay, in situ slum redevelopment, these are the examples. In situ slum redevelopment, uh, using land as a resource, okay, with private partnership and extra FSI, floor space index, TDR, or you also called as FAR, that is floor area ratio, if required to make projects financially variable. Okay, so in Sita slum redevelopment, basically land used as the resources, this private participation and extra FSI or extra floor area ratio is required to make the project financially variable. Okay, so in the affordable housing through credit linked subsidy, okay, interest in which subvention, subsidy for EVS and LIG for new houses or incremental housing. Then in the EVS, annual household income up to rupees 3 lakhs and house size is up to 30 square meter. Square meter, not feet, square meter. Okay. So in LIG, the annual household income between Rs 3 to 6 lakhs and houses size up to 600 square meter. Okay. In affordable housing in partnership, the with private sector or public sector, including the terrestrial agencies, central agencies, in the central assistant per EVS house in affordable housing projects where 30% of the constructed houses are for EVS category. Okay, up to the 30%. Okay, and subsidy for beneficiary like individual house construction. Okay, so for individual of EVS category requiring individual houses, state to prepare a separate project for such beneficiaries and no isolated splintered beneficiary to be covered. So in the implementation verticals in C2 slum requirement we have seen, in affordable houses via credit subsidy link we have seen, and affordable houses in partnership we have seen. Along with that, subsidy for beneficiary linked individuals, houses and construction in the construction. Okay. So what is the eligibility? Now, who can be the beneficiaries and what is the eligibility that we will see? Who can be the basically beneficiaries? Okay. Family, beneficiary family will comprise of a husband, wife, unmarried sons and or unmarried daughter. The first condition, should not owe a paki or either in his or her name or in the name of any of his member of his or her family and any part of India. I repeat once again. Should not own a house either in his or her name or in the name of any of the member of his family in any part of India. Okay, EBS. Annual household income up to 3 lakhs and house sizes up to 323 square feet. In LIG, annual household income between 3 to 6 lakhs and house size up to 645 square feet. The house constructed acquired should be in the name of the female head of the household or in the joint name of the male head of the household and his wife. So these are the clear-cut instruction for the eligibility criteria, and basically in the beneficiary family or to the beneficiary, his or his husband or wife or any of the member of his family should not own any of the property in his name across India. Okay, and in category of EVS, it's up to between 3 lakhs, and in LIG that is between 3 to 6 lakhs. Okay, and the house constructed should be in the name of the female head of the household or in the joint name of the male head of the and the female. It should not be on a single male name head of the male head of the family. Not possible. This is the criteria. Okay. So now benefits to customers. Looking into the benefits into the customers. Okay. So central assistance at the rate of rupees 1.5 lakhs per EVS house would be available for all EVS houses in such projects. Okay. Interest sub-invention subsidy for EBS and LIG for new houses, incremental housing, for new house or incremental housing. The credit linked subsidy will be available for loan amount up to 6 lakh and additional loans beyond rupees 6 lakhs, if any, will be at non-subsidized rate. The subsidy payoff on net present value basis would be about 2.3 lakhs per house for both the categories. And stamp duty in Maharashtra is rupees 1000, but now this cost also got increased. Okay. So central assistance of rupees 1.5 lakh rupees, even for the credit link subsidy will be available for loan account up to 6 lakhs. Up to 6 lakh loan you will have subsidy, no problem. And subsidy payout on net present value basis would be around 2.3 lakh rupees per house for both the categories. And the stamp duty, whatever the rate will be applicable. Okay. Again now, now we are civil engineers and we might get projects will be in the, which comes in the category of Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. So what are the benefits, what are the criteria? Other benefits we'll see afterwards, but what are the criteria to become the part of it and to become the developers, we'll see it. Okay. So minimum size of the houses we need to keep as per the standards provided in National Building Code (NBC). Housing project, whereas 30% of the houses are constructed for EVS, that is economical weaker section, EVS. Okay, a single project has at least 250 houses. Okay, you cannot construct small towns and small projects. And construction of houses up to 223 or by 645, it's 223 by 645 square feet, and carpet area with basic civil engineering infrastructure. This is the criteria. Okay, whatever construction will be made, it should be as per the National Building Code. And housing projects where 35% of the houses should be constructed for EVS, economically weaker section. Okay. Now, advantages for developers or benefits. Okay. So land government will assist developer to provide land with urban areas, FSI with normal flexibility, central assistance for economical weaker section houses, that is EVS house, will help to lower prices of apartments, capital subsidy to developers for rupees 50,000 per home or 25% of the infrastructure cost of the project, whichever is less. The National Housing Bank provides credit risk guarantees for home loans up to rupees 5 lakhs. NHB, the project finance for affordable housing developer or refinance for housing finance companies, that is NHB. B, the slum rehabilitation grants also we get, that is average rupees 1 lakh per house and admissible for all houses built for eligible slum unit projects. And single window clearance for maximum 90 days period for sanction and approval. That is the very best part, that it has, you do not have to wander here and there with your documental file. So a single window clearance is there, which will take maximum of 90 days period for sanction and approvals. Okay, that is the benefit for the developers. Okay, and now here comes the role of the financial institutes. So beneficiaries of economical weaker section and LIG interest subsidy at the rate of 6.5% for a tenure of 15 years or during tenure of loan, whichever is lower. Tata Capital Housing home loan scheme with 4% rate. Microfinance institutions have expressed interest in funding EVS dwelling units up to rupees 5 lakhs. Okay, so these are the roles of the financial institutes. Now challenges. So it is not as easy as is it appearing. So there are two challenges in front of us. So by 2022, though it is written in documents in the scheme, but looking into the current pandemic situation across the globe and especially across the India and specifically in Maharashtra, Nagpur, I'm talking where I'm sitting right now, it is very difficult. Okay, so by 2022, India needs to develop about 11 crores housing units. It's not impossible, but difficult to execute it as far as the right situation of the COVID pandemic here. So level of annual investment in housing sector around, okay, to be doubled to $250 billion. This investment needs to be complemented with the additional investment of about USD 1.5 trillion in the urban infrastructure and commercial real estate. It is all about 1.5 US dollars. Okay. Unlocking land in the urban area, about 1.7 to 2 lakh hectares of land is expected to be required to fulfill urban housing, which is needed by the end of 2022. FSI constraints. FSI norms varies as per the city, which puts limitations on developers. Absolutely. Okay. And sensible EMI for purchasing a home would be around 20% of the monthly household income, not more than rupees 2,000 to 5,000 for a month. It should not more than that. And accessibility and affordability of homes and job availability in nearby areas. Okay, these are the challenges basically. And literally, it is difficult to execute and be on the whatever it is written on the paper in the scheme. It is nowadays difficult as government is diverting entire its efforts, focus and finance in the medical sector, and which is indeed a need basically. And opportunities finally for all of us. Affordable urban houses with 70% of the total urban housing requirement to be fulfilled. 30% of the housing needs is concentrated in just two states, Uttar Pradesh and Maharashtra. Smart city and Atal mission for rejuvenation and urban transformation. Maharashtra state government to allot 800 hectares of revenue land, 355 hectares on the outskirts of Mumbai. And projects are within and near to city area and ample of job opportunity. If specifically the projects are within the or near to the area, then there are ample of job opportunities, especially for civil engineering graduates, budding engineers. Point to be noted. Okay. Let's have an example of few projects that which have already implemented, like Amolik Heights affordable housing at Faridabad, 88 by Amolik Housing Private Limited. Even you can see that Hapur Pilkua Development of Authorities HPDA, Anand Vihar Residentials, Chhattisgarh Housing Board, Sejbar Phase 2, houses in Bangalore for Bangalore Development Authority, then houses in Mysore for Karnataka Slum Development Board. These are the already executed projects under the PM Pradhan Mantri Yojana under PM scheme, that Awas Yojana scheme. Okay. So, housing all, which is scheme earlier it was Rajiv Awas Yojana, now it was PM Awas Yojana, is one of the ambitious initiative by the government which aims to provide houses for population fall in bottom of the pyramid. Customers will get benefits of lower interest rate, subsidized schemes and basic amenities at affordable rates. Developers will have benefits of land, fast track single window approvals and subsidized and FSI flexibility. So this is all about the housing scheme, affordable housing scheme. This is all about the PM Awas Yojana and what are the benefits to the consumer, what are the benefits to the developer, what are the eligibility criteria for the consumers and for the developers we have seen. So I hope students you have understood it very well. Very small topic is there, but very interesting and very beneficial for all of us. Everybody need a house and everybody need proper guidance regarding the same. Many of the people are eligible but not having a knowledge of it. Okay, so that's why it's our duty, being a civil engineering graduate, we should provide the knowledge to the society, to our needy people, our nearby people, those who really need home. So with this, I thank you. I thank everybody for patient listening, and I hope that the doubts and all the things are clear. And once again, thank you very much for patient listening and watching till the end. Thank you very much, and we'll meet very soon with another lecture. Okay, thank you.